morning, everyone. So thank you for bearing with me for just a moment. My name is Christina Palacios. I'm here with you to kind of give you a financial aid overview. I'm a coordinator of financial aid at Tarrant County College at the Trinity River campus. I primarily work a lot with our Connect students, and which is our online campus, and then also our dual credit students. And so what you're going to learn today is a brief overview of the types of financial aid that are available at colleges and universities. So all of the information that you receive today is not specific to Tarrant County College. Also, we'll kind of go over how to apply, which most of you probably have already done or are familiar with, but just to kind of give you a little refresher, and then some additional information that will be helpful for financial aid. So the types of financial aid that are available, the first type is that everybody is the most familiar with is what we can call the gift aid. The gift aid consists of your federal and state grants and your scholarships. So the gift aid, basically what that is you don't really have to do anything for it other than be successful in school, maintain your passing grades and completing the courses and things of that nature. So it's just it's considered a gift. You don't have to pay it back. You don't have to do anything for it other than be successful in school. So that consists of federal and state grants. Your Pell Grant, the maximum Pell Grant a student can receive for 21-22 academic year is $6,495, and that's subject to change depending on Department of Ed decisions. And then also that is divided between your fall and spring semester to ensure that you have financial aid for both semesters. Also, what's important to keep in mind for the Pell Grant is that it's limited to 6 years as a full-time student. So the Department of Education gives you an extra 2 years to finish an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree, and still receive aid. So it's very important that when you're taking your courses that you do complete the courses successfully, that you are mindful in selecting the courses that you're taking, and you're not just taking courses that are not really required of your degree, so that you can maintain that eligibility and then complete your degree within that 6-year time frame, or preferably 4-year, right? And then the other type of self-help is going to be your scholarships. So at TCC and in all colleges and universities typically have their own scholarship foundation. So you always want to be sure that no matter what institution you plan to attend, you do apply for their scholarship. Find out what their application deadlines are and apply for every scholarship that you're eligible for. And you'll learn more about that and the importance of that here in a little bit. At Tarrant County College, this is the website to our scholarship application. And also we have the TCC's Stars of Tomorrow program for those students who may not qualify for federal state grants. But we do also have that program available. And the best advice I can give you for taking advantage of gift aid, because a lot of the gift aid, like our state grants, are awarded on a first come, first served basis. So the best advice I can give you is to apply early. So for example, the FAFSA application for 21-22 became available on October 1st of 2020. So on October 1st, if you can, go ahead and get that FAFSA submitted. That's one of the most important applications you'll ever complete when it comes to your education. So the other type of financial aid that's available is what we consider self-help aid. The self-help aid is going to consist of college work study program, which is employment on campus. And the way that works is you're awarded a specific dollar amount for the academic year, and you work a part-time job on campus for about 19 and a half hours per week, and your wages are paid out of this award. Depending on weekly, bi-weekly, depending on your institution. So if you're planning on working, this is a great program because it saves the student in so many ways. They don't have to commute to another location to their job. They're already on campus. It's just a great opportunity. And statistics show that all college work studies college work study students tend to be more successful because they're connected to those resources on campus. So always be willing to consider a work study job on campus. And then also there's the student loans. We have TCC participates in the Federal Direct Student Loan Program. And there are two types of loans. There's the subsidized student loan and the unsubsidized student loan. They're low interest loans at a fixed rate. And the difference between the two, the subsidized loan, the Department of Education will cover the interest for you while you're in school in at least 6 credit hours. So you don't have, it won't accrue, they're taking care of that. And so, you know, you don't have to worry about a lot of interest building up. The unsubsidized student loans, the moment that you take out that student loan and those funds are dispersed to you, it begins to accrue interest. So you have the option to pay that on a monthly basis or have it tacked onto your principal balance at the end. Excuse me. The student loans, with the student loans, you do not have to go into repayment for those loans until at least 6 months after you graduate or fall below an enrollment level of minimum 6 credit hours. Most institutions will offer the federal parent loan as well. And this is a loan that your parents can take out on your behalf to help them cover the cost of your education. So we don't offer those at TCC, but they do offer those mostly at the universities. So how do you apply? Most of you may already be familiar with the FAFSA application, which is the free application for federal student aid. And I like to emphasize the word free because a lot of sometimes students may end up on the wrong website and end up paying to complete this application. One of the things that I want to emphasize with students is that this is a free application. And if you are approached by somebody that says, if you pay us this certain dollar amount, we can help you find all these scholarship dollars. That's what your financial aid office is for at your campus, at your schools. So don't ever pay anybody to help you find scholarships. We can do that in the financial aid office. You have mentors and other leaders around you that can help you with that. So don't ever pay for financial aid assistance. And then, so what's going to be required on your FAFSA is you'll need to create a federal student, your FSA ID, the username and password that you will use to electronically sign your FAFSA application. And the website for FAFSA is fafsa.gov. And the information that you're going to be using will be the income tax information, assets and household information. So you'll need to know, who's all a dependent of your parents. And if you're a dependent student, you'll need to provide parent information. And then what the FAFSA does is generates a student aid report with the family's expected family contribution, which is your EFC. And this is basically what that is the Department of Education says the family can contribute this towards the education, and then we take care of the rest in financial aid. You can list up to 10 schools on your FAFSA application. So even if you haven't been accepted into a school, but it's one that you've applied to, or maybe one that you're even interested in, but haven't applied to yet, list it. And the reason that is because you want, if at the last minute you decide to change your mind and attend a different school, then they already have your FAFSA information and you don't have, that's not a process you'll have to wait on. So you can list, always keep in mind, you can list up to 10. So there's this wonderful process sometimes that the Department of Education does, and it's a verification process. So about 30% of applicants are selected for a review called verification. And it's kind of like an audit. They just want to verify that the information that's on your FAFSA is correct with the information that's on your tax returns and any verification documents that they flagged for you to submit. It could be tax information. It could be just an identity statement with your photo ID, things of that nature. So you want to make sure that you're checking your student email account or whatever form of communication your financial aid office is going to use. You want to make sure that you stay on top of that, because if they are requesting additional documentation, you won't know unless you're checking that. So, and that will delay the process of your financial aid. So if you have any questions regarding, like a specific document that you're not sure what that is or what's required, contact your financial aid office, and they can further explain to you and give you a better understanding of what's being requested. So not all students are eligible for federal aid. There are students who are fall under our DACA or non-DACA students. They will complete a FASFA application, which is a state grant, a grant that's provided by the state of Texas. So the requirements for the FASFA is you must have graduated from a Texas public or private high school and received a GED or certificate in the state of Texas. You have to have resided in the state of Texas for the last 36 months consecutively leading up to high school graduation, and then also be a resident of the state of Texas for at least 12 months. How is financial aid and eligibility determined? So every school has what's called a cost of attendance, and that means what it potentially costs to attend this school, whether it's TCC, a university, any institution. So within that cost of attendance, they're taking into consideration your room and board, your tuition, books, room and board, personal, and travel. Okay, so, and it's an estimated cost about kind of like a broad, like an over generalization of this is about how much it would cost. So what we do is we take that cost of attendance and we deduct what the family's expected family contribution is. And whatever is left, the difference is what we come in and meet the student's need with financial aid, whether it be grants, work study scholarships, student loans, anything like that. So, of course, at TCC, we always offer student loans as a last resort, and I always encourage students to borrow as a last resort. So why is it important to apply early? And, some students don't apply, prior to the priority deadline. And the reason why we have a priority deadline is, like I mentioned before, a lot of our grants are awarded on a first come, first served basis. So when we have a priority deadline, that means that all of the students who've submitted their FAFSA and have completed their documents and submitted all of their documents and their process is complete, these students will take priority and receive the additional funding. And this is just a visual example because I'm a visual person. So this is just a visual of what that looks like. So both students are independent students. They have a 0 EFC. The only difference is when they submitted their FAFSA. One submitted it in October when the FAFSA became available, and they were able to receive not only a Pell Grant, but some of the supplemental grants that are available, like the SEOG, TEOG, and the Federal Work Study Program. Those last 3 awards are awarded on a first come, first served basis. So because they have applied early, their total award was over $13,000 for the academic year. Of course, it is divided between fall and spring, but that's a pretty good amount of financial assistance. The other student waited until the summer, still before classes started, still early enough to get the awards available prior to classes beginning. However, we were already out of the SEOG and the other supplemental grants. So, and they were only eligible to receive the Pell Grant. So that's a good significant difference in the amount of funding that a student can receive. So that's why it's very important to apply early. Oops, did I go backwards? I did, okay. So what else is required? So with financial aid, the Department of Education does want to ensure that you are in an approved degree or certificate program. Most programs are going to require that you're in at least 6 credit hours, which is about 2 courses. And then also you want to maintain satisfactory academic progress. And what that means is there's 2 requirements specifically for that you need to make sure you're aware of. The first one is the 2.0 GPA. Always maintain at least at the minimum 2.0 GPA. And then also your 67% completion rate. And that's the one that kind of trips students up a lot. They're like, what does that mean? And what is that? So what that means is basically of all of the attempted credit hours that you do with your school, with your education, of those attempted hours, you have to have completed at least 67% of those hours. And the reason that is the bare minimum that you can complete and still be continuing to make progress towards completing a degree. If you fall below 67%, you're not really making progress. So the Department of Education will say, we can't continue to give you assistance. So you want to make sure that you're aware of what your completion rate is and what your GPA are, and stay in tune with that. For the federal programs, you must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, and register for selective service for all of our male students 18 to 24. If you have previously received financial aid, and we understand life happens, circumstances happen. Maybe you had to withdraw or had to drop a class or whatever the case may be, and you're not, there were funds you had to pay back. You can't owe funds back, previous funds that you've received, you can't have a balance for those, or you cannot be in default for student loans. So you need to make sure that you're aware of, your loan status. And then also if you've had to drop classes, check with your financial aid office. It's always good practice to check with them prior to dropping a class rather than after. So that way, if there's going to be a balance or any funds that you'll have to pay back. We encourage you not to, and just to be successful in school, but we understand sometimes life happens. Also, you have to have a high school diploma or GED, and then also demonstrate need as determined by the FAFSA. So what happens next? So once you've completed your FAFSA, the school will send you an award letter after you've submitted all of the documents, you've been processed, and you're awarded. So your financial aid office will send you an award notification, whether it's via email, text, depending on your school and how they communicate with you. And in that award notification, you'll have your terms of award, and disbursement information. All of that information will be provided. They'll let you know what you were eligible for. And then again, ensure that you read the terms of award, because some awards are prorated based on the level of enrollment. Some only require that you're enrolled in 6 hours. So it's very important that you understand all of the terms of your award. And then also you want to check for outside scholarships. There are, the institutional scholarships with your school that you're going to be attending. But then there's also outside agencies like this one that we're here with today that also offer scholarships. So, and then also again, borrow as a last resort when it comes to student loans. All right, so the way students will receive their financial aid through TCC, and I think most schools have kind of transitioned to a third party like this as well. You'll receive a refund selection packet in the mail, and it'll have some specific information for you to go in and set up how you want to receive your financial aid funds, whether you want to have it direct deposited to a bank account, your own personal bank account, you want to be issued one of the banking cards that the company provides, that Bank Mobile provides, or a paper check mailed. My advice is always, if you have your own personal bank account, to always just use that direct deposit. So that way you don't have to worry about incurring any fees for having one of the bank mobile cards. So make sure that you check out, keep an eye out for this information to be able to set that up. Other tips is applying early. Again, the first come, first serve awards. To be able to take advantage of those, you always want to apply early. You can kind of get an idea of what type of financial aid you're going to be eligible for, and if you're going to be eligible, by using the FAFSA forecaster, and that will ask you for some general information and it kind of give you an idea of where you stand. You want to also focus on school deadlines. Every institution is going to have a priority deadline, which is the one I mentioned before. For TCC, it's May 1st. So what we're saying is once you have completed your FAFSA in October, submitted any additional documents to us that were being requested, and we've gotten you processed by May 1st, then number one, we can guarantee that your financial aid will be available to you by the time school starts, and then in the fall, and then also that you will be in the pool of students who get to take advantage of the first come, first serve financial aid. And also read. I know financial aid's not the most exciting read, but if you're having trouble sleeping one night, read it, you'll be asleep in 5 minutes. However, you will be informed about your financial aid. Make sure that you're maintaining your grades. Make sure that you know where you are as far as your completion rate. And then if you have any questions regarding financial aid, regarding circumstances that are coming up, you may have to drop. Always check with financial aid first. Always call financial aid for assistance. And then just know that maybe the first time it might be a little bit complicated for applying for financial aid, but the second time is usually easier. You just go in and renew your FAFSA. Most of your information is already there. The only thing you're required to do at that point, the second time around and any time after that, is just update any changed information. So just know that applying the second time around is much easier. And I guess if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to address them or answer any questions that you have. Thank you. I always look forward to being at this conference every year. So that's all I have. And at this point, I'm sorry, if at this point, if you don't have any questions, if you do have questions, put them in the chat. But if you don't, we'll move on to the next session.
Hey, Christina.
Question, Christine.
Yes.
Could address it. There's been some changes in income during COVID.
Okay, so if you're in the middle of, you've already completed your FAFSA, you've been awarded, and there has been a drastic change to the income, there is a process called a special circumstance application that you can ask your financial aid office for, and it will require you to provide some documents in order for them to recalculate what your projected income will be. And then they can base your financial aid on what that will be. And possibly if you're not already awarded a Pell Grant, maybe, or you weren't initially eligible for a Pell Grant, but maybe now you are, and we can adjust that. So that can be adjusted at any time during the academic year.